Commander Vex stood at the observation window of the Imperial flagship constellation and watched the stars burn in the void. Below him, 3 Imperial battle cruisers held perfect formation across the patrol zone. Each ship represented 10,000 years of military development. Each crew member served the Eternal Dominion without question. The Empire did not tolerate confusion. The Empire did not accept failure. And the Empire never allowed unknown things to enter its space without proper documentation. Vex was a creature of logic and order. His crystalline body reflected the light of 1,000 sensor panels as he waited for his report. The patrol had been quiet for months, peaceful, predictable. This was how the Empire maintained control over 17 million systems, through constant vigilance, through overwhelming force, through absolute certainty that everything in Imperial space was known and controlled. Then his sensor officer turned from his console with an expression that Vex had never seen before. Concern, real, unmistakable concern. "Commander, we have a problem," said. His entire body flickered with a blue light that indicated high stress. "Report," Vex commanded without turning from the window. "We are detecting a vessel on approach vector. It entered the patrol zone 3 minutes ago. It is not responding to standard hailing frequencies." Vex felt something move through his logical mind, something almost like unease. Classification. "That is the problem, sir. It does not match any known configuration. I have cross-referenced the vessel against 17,000 known ship designs. Nothing matches. This vessel is unknown to our databases." The bridge of the constellation fell into silence. In 10,000 years of Imperial rule, no unregistered vessel had ever entered their space without being detected at the outer perimeter. The fact that this ship had penetrated 3 patrol zones meant something had gone wrong, or something had deliberately allowed this to happen. "Broadcast the standard warning," Vex ordered. "All languages, all frequencies, full authority transmission." The warning went out into the void. A simple message: identify yourself, state your purpose, prepare for interdiction. The message was repeated in 432 different languages, covering every known species in the galaxy. No response came. Vex finally turned from the window and walked to the main tactical display. There it was, a single blip on the screen, a small vessel, primitive by Imperial standards. Its design was crude and unbalanced. It looked like it had been built by creatures who did not understand optimal efficiency. The ship appeared to be held together with patches and repairs. It looked like it should not even be capable of interstellar flight. Yet it was closing on their position at speeds that should have been impossible for such a badly constructed craft. "Bring up visual," Vex commanded. The main activated. The image made every officer on the bridge process information faster than protocol allowed. The vessel was ancient. Its hull showed signs of countless impacts and repairs. Solar panels from at least 3 different civilizations hung from its sides. The engine compartment looked like a chaotic assembly of different technologies forced together with no regard for harmony or efficiency. It looked like something a child might build with discarded parts. "This is the Eternal Dominion commanding vessel constellation," Vex transmitted directly. "You are in violation of Imperial space protocols. You will cut your engines and prepare for boarding. Failure to comply will result in your immediate destruction." The vessel did not slow. It did not respond with words. Instead, it began broadcasting something different, not communication, not a threat, mathematics. Prime numbers filled the communication channels. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. The sequence continued, basic and fundamental. Then came more complex patterns. The value of pi to 10,000 digits. The golden ratio is constant. Every fundamental constant of physics that any intelligent being would recognize as universal truth. It was a message that transcended language. It was a message from something that understood the universe on the most basic level. "Stand down all weapons," Vex said quietly. "Commander," his tactical officer, a being made entirely of articulated metal, turned in shock. "I said stand down, do not fire. All vessels hold position, hold fire." The order spread across the communication network. The 3 battle cruisers, which had been moving to intercept, held their courses but powered down their weapon systems. It was a violation of every protocol. It was against all standard procedure. But Commander Vex saw something in those mathematics that his mind processed faster than logic. The vessel slowed as it approached. Its weapon signatures, which had been building in intensity, began to decrease. The mathematics continued to broadcast, insistent, repeating, demanding to be understood. Vex studied the patterns with complete focus. The mathematics were not random. They were arranged in a sequence. A message hidden inside the equations. It took his enhanced mind only moments to decode it. The sequence was a question. A simple question asked in the only language that transcended species and biology and culture. The mathematics asked, "Will you listen?" Its form flickered with confusion. "Commander, the vessel is now within firing range. It is completely defenseless. We could destroy it with a single burst from the secondary weapons array. What are your orders?" Vex did not answer immediately. He was watching the vessel hang in space. So small, so primitive, so utterly vulnerable against the full might of the Imperial Dominion. Any reasonable commander would destroy it. Any logical decision would be to eliminate the unknown before it became a threat. But Vex had just realized something that made his crystalline body process information faster than it ever had before. The vessel was not trying to be threatening. It was trying to be understood. "Open a communication channel," Vex ordered, "and prepare the translation protocols. Whatever language this vessel uses, I want to understand it." "The vessel is broadcasting again," reported. His form stabilized as the blue light of stress faded slightly. The new broadcast was different. It was still mathematics, but now it was directed toward the language centers. It was building a bridge between the Imperial languages and something completely new. The mathematics were teaching the translation protocols how to understand. The voice that came through the communication system was clear and direct. It spoke in perfect Imperial standard, though there was something strange about the accent, something harsh, something that sounded like it came from a species that had evolved in harsh conditions. "This is Captain Emma Martinez of Earth Command. I'm hailing the Imperial Dominion on a matter of extreme importance. My vessel carries a warning that affects not just the Empire, but every civilization in this galaxy. I request permission to transmit more detailed information. I am willing to submit to any security protocol your command requires, but I need to speak with whoever has the authority to make decisions about galactic security." Vex looked at the battered vessel on his screen. He looked at the statistics his sensors were feeding him. It was nothing. It should be nothing. But something in the mathematics had suggested that this vessel and its crew understood something fundamental about survival that the Empire had forgotten. "Grant them docking clearance," Vex ordered. "Prepare the diplomatic conference room and scan everything about that ship. I want to know its every component and system before it gets within 100 meters of this vessel." Emma Martinez had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned from staring at sensor displays and navigation readouts. Her hands shook slightly from too much stimulant drink and too much stress, but her mind remained sharp. It had to remain sharp. Because one mistake now would end everything. The SS Pioneer Dawn shuddered slightly as it docked with the Imperial flagship. Emma felt the connection lock into place through the vibrations in the deck beneath her boots. Somewhere above her head, the most powerful military force in the galaxy was deciding whether to destroy her or listen to her. She had bet everything on mathematics, on the belief that any intelligent species would recognize pure logic and fundamental truth. It was the only weapon humanity had. Her communications officer looked at her with worry written across his face. "Captain, they are requesting immediate transfer to their diplomatic conference room. They want you alone." "Not alone," Emma said. She looked at her crew. 8 people, all that was left of the original 15 who had departed Earth. 8 people who represented the entire hope of human civilization. "I want you with me. You speak 17 languages. I want in the secondary conference room monitoring our systems. If anything goes wrong, you execute the emergency protocols." Her chief engineer nodded. She was a woman of action rather than words. She had kept the Pioneer Dawn running through impossible circumstances. She would keep it running now. "And if they betray us?" asked. "Then we try to run, we jump to the next system. We find another power that might listen. We keep fighting until we cannot fight anymore. That is what humans do." Emma sealed her uniform jacket and moved toward the docking tunnel. The transfer lock cycled open, revealing a corridor lined with Imperial security forces. They were not hostile. They were not threatening, but they were absolutely ready to kill if ordered. Emma walked forward without hesitation. The diplomatic conference room was nothing like anything on Earth. The walls seemed to generate their own light. The table was constructed from a material that looked like crystallized energy, and sitting at the far end was Commander Vex, his entire form still and waiting. Behind him stood 3 Imperial officers. One was made entirely of articulated metal. One was a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field. One was a creature with 4 arms and skin that changed color with emotion. Emma sat across from Vex and placed her hands on the table where they could be seen. No weapons, no hidden threats, just a human being from an unknown world. "I am Commander Vex of the Eternal Dominion," he said. His voice carried no particular emotion. "I have reviewed your approach and your mathematical broadcasts. I find myself curious, which is why you remain alive. Explain to me who you are and why you have entered Imperial space in an unregistered vessel." Emma took a breath. This was it. Everything her species had worked for came down to this moment. "I am Captain Emma Martinez. I command the SS Pioneer Dawn. We are from a planet called Earth, located in what you call the Outer Rim territories. My species is human. We have only recently achieved interstellar capability. But we come because our world faces extinction. We need help. We need military assistance against a threat that is moving toward my people." The metal officer made a sharp sound. "A species we have never encountered claims extinction event. How convenient. This is likely a false flag operation. We should destroy the vessel and examine the wreckage." Emma looked directly at the officer. "Then you have not studied the data your sensors collected from my ship. If you had, you would see that my technology is a hybrid of 3 different civilizations. We did not build this ship using uniform design. We built it using parts salvaged from systems the Collective destroyed." The room went quiet. Vex leaned forward slightly. "You know about the Collective." "I know that it has consumed 17 systems in the past 2 years. I know that its growth rate is accelerating. I know that your containment protocols have failed to stop it. And I know that if it reaches Earth, my species will be extinct within 3 months." Handed Emma a data crystal. She placed it on the table and slid it toward Vex. "This contains all the information we have collected about the Collective. It shows the movement patterns. It shows the timeline of its expansion. It shows the systems we lost. It shows the people we could not save." Vex accessed the data directly through a neural interface. His form went completely still as he processed the information. The other officers waited in silence. When Vex finally looked up, something had changed in his crystalline features. Not concern exactly, but something close to it. "The growth rate you have documented is significantly higher than our historical records. Either the Collective has evolved, or our monitoring systems have been inadequate." "Both," Emma said. "It evolves by consuming. Every species it absorbs becomes part of its genetic and biological memory. Every world it takes makes it stronger and smarter. The more it grows, the faster it grows. At some point, this reaches critical mass. At that point, it becomes unstoppable." The energy being made a vibrating sound that Emma's implants translated as confusion. "Why should the Empire risk military resources defending a species that does not exist in our records? You have provided no proof of your identity. You could be an infiltrator. You could be the Collective in disguise." Emma had prepared for this argument. "Because you already know the Collective. You know it cannot be defeated by force alone. You know that your weapons were designed to fight conventional threats, not a parasitic organism that evolves in response to every attack. You know that if the Collective reaches my world and consumes it, humanity becomes part of that organism, and that changes the game forever." "How so?" Vex asked. "Because humans are problem solvers. We are adapters. We take broken things and make them work. We combine ideas in ways no other species seems capable of combining. We adapt so fast that we can survive in almost any environment. If the Collective takes that ability and makes it part of its own biology, your containment fails completely. Within 5 years, the Collective consumes the entire galaxy." The 4-armed officer changed color to a deep red, a sign of anger in its species. "You threaten the Dominion with extinction, you dare." "I am not threatening," Emma said calmly. "I am stating fact. I am here offering a solution. Work with us. Help us develop defenses against the Collective. In exchange, you get the benefit of human innovation and problem-solving ability before it becomes a threat rather than an advantage." Vex stood and walked to the viewport. He looked out at the 3 patrol vessels maintaining their positions. "What you ask is considerable. The Grand Council makes decisions about galactic military involvement. I have authority to gather intelligence and form recommendations. I do not have authority to commit the Empire to war." "Then recommend it," Emma said. "Look at the data, run the simulations, and tell your council that the species that approached you with mathematics was willing to stake everything on the belief that logic and truth could bridge the gap between unknown aliens. Tell them that humans are willing to fight." Vex turned back to her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he activated his communication device. "Prepare comprehensive analysis of the data provided by the human vessel. Run predictive models on collective growth assuming current acceleration patterns. I want results in 4 hours." He looked at Emma again. "You will remain aboard the Constellation. You will provide complete technical specifications of your ship and your civilization. You will submit to medical scans to verify your biological authenticity. And you will prepare a formal proposal for the Grand Council regarding human imperial cooperation." Emma felt relief flood through her body. They had survived. They had made first contact. They had been taken seriously. "Thank you, Commander. You will not regret this." Vex's crystalline features showed something that might have been a smile. "Captain Martinez, I hope that is true, but I suspect that my decision to listen to you has just changed the course of galactic history. I am not sure whether to be grateful or concerned." Analysis took 18 hours. When Commander Vex finally summoned Emma to his ready room, his body language had changed. He was no longer simply curious. He was concerned. "Sit," he said without preamble. Emma sat across from him, remained at her side, monitoring everything through hidden sensors. Vex activated a holographic display that showed the predictive models. "Your data is accurate. The collective's growth rate has accelerated beyond what our historical records indicate. If the current acceleration continues, it will reach you in exactly 172 days." Emma felt her heart clench. She had estimated the same thing, but hearing it stated by imperial science made it real in a new way. "At that point," Vex continued, "the collective will begin to consume human biology. We have run simulations of what human cognitive patterns and adaptability would mean if absorbed into the collective's organism." He paused. The hesitation was significant. "The results are problematic. Your species' ability to solve problems using unconventional approaches would give the collective an advantage that it currently does not possess. The organism that consumed your people would become significantly more intelligent and more capable of strategic thinking. Within 5 years, the collective would become a threat to imperial core worlds." "So you understand the danger," Emma said. "I understand the danger perfectly," Vex replied. "Which is why I have already transmitted this analysis to the Grand Council. They are considering your request for military assistance. However, I must warn you about something. The Council does not act on emotion. The Council does not act on urgency. The Council acts on strategic advantage and probability of success." One of Vex's subordinates, a being named who had been monitoring the human ship, entered the room. His form flickered with stress. "Commander, the Council has voted. They are willing to provide limited support. They have authorized joint research on collective countermeasures. They have agreed to share weapon designs and technical specifications. But they will not commit military forces to defend Earth unless and until the collective begins its direct attack on you." Emma felt the weight of that decision crash down on her. The Empire would help, but only after her people were already dying. "How long would it take for military forces to arrive if they were deployed at first contact?" she asked. "Approximately 3 months," said quietly, "by which time the collective would already have begun consumption of your planet's population." Emma closed her eyes. 72 days of life and death fighting before help would arrive. The mathematics of survival said that Earth could not hold that long. But the mathematics of human determination said something different. "Then we will buy those 72 days," Emma said. "We will prepare defenses. We will develop countermeasures. We will make the collective pay for every meter of territory it takes. And when your military forces arrive, they will arrive to find a species that refused to surrender." Vex processed this statement. His crystalline form seemed to generate more light. "That is acceptable," he said. "Captain Martinez, the Empire will provide you with technical assistance and weapons design specifications. We will help you develop defensive strategies. What we cannot provide is soldiers to die for your world. That burden falls to humanity." "Understood," Emma said. She had known this was how it would be. The Empire did not invest in species it did not know. Trust had to be earned through action. "I will also provide you with something else," Vex continued. He activated a secondary display. "This is the location of our primary research facility for collective countermeasures. It is 30 light years from your. I am assigning a team of Imperial scientists to work with you. They will help you develop biological and technological responses to the threat." Emma looked at Vex in surprise. Putting Imperial scientists at personal risk was a significant commitment. "Why?" she asked. "Because I have reviewed your species' history. I have studied your wars, your conflicts, your desperate struggles to survive and advance, and I have concluded that humans have a quality that most advanced species have lost. You have the ability to overcome impossible odds through determination and ingenuity. The Empire has order and power, but what the Empire lacks is the will to fail repeatedly and continue fighting. That is a weapon more valuable than any destroyer." He stood and walked to the window of his ready room. Humanity will either die fighting the collective or will survive through innovations that no other species would have attempted. Either way, this experiment will provide the Empire with valuable data. It was not the most encouraging endorsement, but it was something. It was a commitment. "The collective will attempt to reach Earth," Vex said. "When it does, we will see what humanity is truly made of." Over the next 6 weeks, the SS Pioneer Dawn became a transport vessel for Imperial technology and weapons designs, and his team of scientists worked 18-hour shifts alongside and integrating Imperial weapons systems with Earth's biological sciences. They created designs for defensive barriers. They developed biological countermeasures that could slow the collective's spread. But most importantly, they began to understand what made humans different. Humans approached problems by asking, what if we tried something completely different? What if the normal rules did not apply? What if we combined systems that were never meant to work together? The Imperial scientists found this approach both frustrating and brilliant. The collective did not attack like traditional military forces. It did not concentrate its strength at a single point. Instead, it spread across the approach vectors to Earth like a disease spreading through tissue. The biomass advanced in waves. Each wave was different. Each wave was a new mutation designed to overcome whatever defensive system the previous wave had encountered. Emma sat in the command center of the Pioneer Dawn and watched the data streaming in from the defensive stations on Earth. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, all human, all fighting to delay the inevitable. The first barrier worked perfectly for the first 8 hours. It was a gravitational disruptor system that the Imperial scientists had designed. The theory was sound. The mathematics worked, but the collective adapted in the 9th hour. It evolved an organism that could metabolize the energy of the gravitational field and use it to fuel its own expansion. The first barrier fell. His voice came through the communication system with mechanical precision. She had learned long ago not to let emotion enter the tactical channel. "First barrier is overrun, activating secondary defenses. We have bought 18 hours, that is more than we expected." Emma typed commands into her console. Each command sent weapons data to the defenders on Earth. Each command represented humanity's refusal to surrender. "How are the biological countermeasures performing?" she asked. "Better than expected," came the response from the Imperial scientist who had remained aboard to coordinate with human forces. His form flickered with something that might have been excitement. "The hybrid organism we created is functioning as designed. It is reproducing within the collective's substrate. It is disrupting the cohesion of the biomass. The collective's expansion rate has decreased by 17%. 17%. It was not enough to stop the advancing threat, but it was enough to matter. It was enough to give humanity more time. More time meant more lives saved. More time meant more people able to reach shelter. More time meant more weapons could be prepared. More time meant the choice between extinction and survival could still be altered." The war for Earth's survival continued for 74 days. On day 1, the collective had seemed invincible. The biomass advanced relentlessly. It consumed military positions. It absorbed defensive weapons. It grew stronger with each passing hour. But humans did not stop fighting. On day 30, Emma deployed a new weapon. It was a hybrid of military hardware and biological modification. It was something no other species would have conceived. A weapon that infected the collective's own tissue with a virus designed to slow cell reproduction. The weapon worked for 16 hours. The collective evolved a counter in 17 hours. But again, humans learned. They modified the virus. They deployed it in new ways. They combined it with other systems. They refused to accept the same solution twice. On day 50, Earth's cities were burning. The collective had breached the outer defensive perimeters and begun direct contact with population centers. Hundreds of thousands of humans died in the first wave of infection. But millions survived through evacuation protocols and defensive preparations, and those millions continued to fight. Emma received a personal message from a military commander named David Harrison, who was defending a major city. The message was simple and direct. Captain, the collective has entered the city limits. We have established a secondary defensive line at the industrial sector. We have weapons and supplies. We have will. We are not surrendering. We will hold this line and buy time for civilians to evacuate. This is humanity's choice. We fight. Emma transmitted a response with everything she felt. Hold the line, Commander. Help is coming. The Empire has activated its military forces. They will arrive in 48 hours. Do not surrender. Keep fighting. It was a message that carried hope. False hope, perhaps, but hope nonetheless. The final defensive line held for exactly 2 days. When the Imperial military forces jumped into the Earth system on day 76, they found a planet that was still burning but still fighting. Commander Vex stood in the command center of the flagship constellation and viewed the battle in progress. The collective covered 60% of Earth's surface. Humanity controlled 35%. 5% remained as contested territory. "It is worse than the data indicated," said one of Vex's officers. "No," Vex responded. "It is exactly as the data indicated. What is different is that humanity is still fighting. Any reasonable species would have surrendered on day 30. Any logical civilization would have evacuated and abandoned the planet. But humanity fights, even now, even when defeat seems certain." He activated the command transmission. "All Imperial forces deploy in support of human defensive positions. Coordinated attacks on the collective's primary biomass concentrations. Do not pull back. Do not surrender. This is humanity's world. We are here to help them keep it." The Imperial military forces deployed with overwhelming power. Weapons systems that could destroy planets. Technology that was centuries beyond anything humanity could build. But it was not the Imperial technology that made the difference. It was what happened when Imperial force met human ingenuity. Emma worked directly with Vex's scientists. Together, they designed new weapon systems. They combined Imperial destructive capability with human biological understanding. They created things that neither species could have created alone. On day 83, the collective's advance halted, not because of any single weapon, but because humans and the Empire had learned to work together. The collective could evolve against one type of attack, but when it evolved a counter to Imperial weapons, human biologists would deploy their modified organisms. When the collective adapted to biological threats, Imperial technology would intervene with new destructive force. The collective could not adapt to the combination fast enough. Over the next 30 days, the biomass was pushed back. Territory was reclaimed. The collective's growth rate crashed. The organism that had seemed invincible was revealed to be mortal. On day 115, after the collective had entered the Earth system, the last of the biomass was contained in a shrinking sphere of territory in the Arctic region. Emma stood in the Imperial Command Center alongside Vex and watched as the final weapons were deployed. "Your species performed beyond all predictions," Vex said. "We had no choice," Emma replied. "This is our home, these are our people. We were going to fight or die trying." The final containment array activated. The collective, trapped and unable to expand, began to collapse. Without new biological matter to consume, without the ability to spread, the organism that had consumed 17 worlds finally died. Earth was safe. Emma walked to the viewport and looked down at her world. The fires were burning out. The cities were damaged but standing. The people were alive. Humanity had survived the unsurvivable, not because they were more powerful than their enemies, but because they refused to accept defeat. They adapted, they fought, They would not surrender. And in doing so, they had proven something to the galaxy that would be remembered for 10,000 years. 3 weeks after the final containment of the collective, Emma stood in a formal diplomatic chamber aboard the Imperial flagship Constellation. She wore a new uniform, not the patched and worn garment of the SS Pioneer Dawn, but something more official, something that represented humanity on the galactic stage. Commander Vex entered the chamber with his full contingent of senior officers. Behind them walked representatives from 100 different species, beings made of crystal and energy and metal and flesh. All of them had come to witness a historic moment. The Eternal Dominion does not change its policies lightly. It does not recognize new species. It does not grant official standing in the galactic community to civilizations that have not proven themselves over. But humanity had changed everything. Captain Emma Martinez of Earth, Vex said formally, your species has demonstrated extraordinary capability in the face of existential threat. You have shown adaptability that exceeds all known metrics. You have proven that humans can work in cooperation with other species toward common goals. Therefore, by decision of the Grand Council, humanity is recognized as a full member of the interstellar community. Earth is granted the status of imperial ally. Humans are permitted to travel and trade throughout the galaxy without restriction. And human technology, combined with imperial expertise, will be shared with the broader galactic community. Emma bowed, not out of submission, but out of respect for what had been accomplished. Thank you, Commander. Humanity accepts this honor. We accept this responsibility, and we pledge to serve the peace and prosperity of the galactic community. The formal ceremony lasted 3 hours. There were speeches from representatives of dozens of species. There were discussions of trade agreements and military cooperation. There were debates about how human adaptability would be integrated into existing galactic systems. But when the formal session ended, Vex called Emma to a private chamber. What is wrong? Emma asked. Something in Vex's form suggested this was not a congratulatory meeting. Nothing is wrong, Vex said. He seemed to be choosing his words carefully. Everything is exactly as it should be. That is precisely what troubles me. I do not understand. Humanity has proven itself to the galaxy. Your species will now have access to all the resources of the imperial community. You will have military protection. You will have scientific cooperation. You will have everything an emerging species needs to become a major power. You sound like that is a problem, Emma said. It is a concern, Vex replied, because I have reviewed the history of your species more thoroughly now that you are integrated into the community. I have seen your wars, your conflicts, your ability to do terrible things to each other when you have the capability and justification. Now you will have the capability to do those things on a galactic scale. Emma listened without interrupting. What I am asking you is this, Vex continued. Now that humanity has the power to conquer, will you choose to conquer, or have you learned something deeper in your struggle for survival? Emma walked to the viewport of the chamber. Earth hung in space below them, a blue planet, beautiful and whole and alive. On Earth there is an old saying, she said. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It means that when beings have total control and no restraint, they become tyrannical. But there is another side to human nature that I think you have not fully understood. Humans were created by struggle. We became who we are through suffering and survival. We understand that power without compassion leads to destruction. We understand that might does not make right. These lessons are burned into our DNA because we have lived them. She turned back to face Vex. You have given humanity power, Commander, but you have done it after we have already proven we do not seek power for its own sake. We seek survival. We seek the protection of our people. We seek to ensure that what happened to the collective does not happen to other worlds. Humanity will use this power to prevent the next extinction event, not to create one. Vex processed this statement. His crystalline form seemed to generate soft light. I believe you, he said finally. Humanity has earned trust, but I will watch. And if I ever see your species moving toward conquest or tyranny, I will act against you with the full force of the imperial military. You should, Emma said. Any species that does not have checks against its own worst impulses deserves to be checked by others. Over the next 6 months, Earth was transformed. Scientific facilities were established to help humans develop advanced technology. Military academies were built to train human soldiers in imperial warfare techniques. Trade routes were opened that allowed humans to interact with dozens of alien species. But the most important change came from the human settlements that began to spread across the galaxy. Emma received a message from who had taken command of a human research vessel exploring the outer systems. The message was simple and direct. Captain, we have discovered something remarkable. There are 17 worlds that were partially consumed by the collective before we defeated it, but they were not completely destroyed. Life still exists in protected regions. Species have survived despite the assault of the parasitic organism. These worlds are being reclaimed. Forests are growing again. Animals are returning. We are witnessing the restoration of worlds that were almost lost. Humanity is helping to rebuild what the collective destroyed. And in doing so, we are becoming something greater than we were before. Emma read the message 3 times. It felt like a perfect ending to the story that had begun with the SS Pioneer Dawn broadcasting mathematics into the void. Humanity had not conquered. Humanity had not become the next great threat. Instead, humanity had become something the galaxy had not seen before. Humanity had become a force of restoration, a species that took broken things and made them whole, a species that fought not for conquest but for the right of all life to exist. A year after the defense of Earth, Emma received a final message from Commander Vex. He had been promoted to Supreme Military Commander of the Eastern Imperial Sector. The message came in a simple text format. Captain Martinez, I have reviewed the reports of human activity throughout the galaxy. You have established medical stations in 12 systems. You have restored 2 worlds to habitable condition. You have trained military forces of 15 allied species in human tactical adaptation. You have become the thing your species always claimed to be. You have become a force for good. I was wrong to doubt. Humanity has earned not just survival, but honor. Continue your work. Restore what was broken. Protect what is vulnerable. You have my full support. Emma read the message in her command center aboard the SS Pioneer Dawn. The ship that had carried 8 humans into the unknown had returned home many times since then, but it still flew the colors of Earth, still carried the mark of humanity's first contact with the galaxy. She activated the communication system and transmitted a message to all human settlements across explored space. This is Captain Emma Martinez. The collective has been defeated. Our world is safe. Our species is recognized. Our future is secure, but our work is not finished. Across the galaxy, there are worlds that need restoration. There are people who need help. There are species who need cooperation. This is what humanity will do. This is what we will always do. We will fight against extinction. We will restore what was broken. We will build a galactic community where all life can flourish. This is humanity. This is our promise to the stars. As the message spread across the communication networks, Emma looked at and watched the galaxy slowly begin to heal. The collective had tried to erase life itself, but humanity had stood against it. Humanity had fought. Humanity had won. 5 years after the collective was defeated, Emma Martinez stood on the surface of Earth, not in a command center or military facility, but in one of the great cities that humanity had rebuilt. The city was called New Hope. It had been entirely destroyed during the collective war. Buildings had been consumed. Infrastructure had been erased. For 6 months, the city had been nothing but scorched earth and ash. Now it stood as a monument to human resilience. The buildings were constructed with a blend of human and imperial architecture. The technology combined Earth's biological understanding with the Empire's advanced systems. The people who walked the streets represented dozens of different species. Humans worked alongside aliens. Together, they built something that had never existed before. A galactic city on humanities. Emma watched as children played in the parks. Human children ran alongside young beings from 3 different alien species. They did not think about their species. They did not think about history or conflict. They simply played. They simply lived. This was why Emma had fought, not for power or glory, but for this, for the simple right to exist, for the future where children could be children instead of soldiers. Commander Vex arrived on an official visit. His form had aged slightly, but his mind remained as sharp as ever. He walked beside Emma through the city streets. Your species has accomplished remarkable things, Vex said. The collective threat has been completely contained. All infected worlds are in various stages of recovery. The interstellar community has adopted defensive protocols based on human tactical innovation. Humanity is spoken of across the galaxy as a model of how emerging species can integrate into advanced civilization. Emma nodded. She had read all the reports, but statistics never captured the full reality. "But there is something troubling me," Vex continued. "I have received reports that some of your people want military expansion. Some humans have proposed establishing an independent military force. Some have even suggested that humanity should expand into unclaimed territories beyond imperial space." Emma had expected this question. It was the logical concern of someone who had witnessed human potential and human destructiveness in equal measure. "Yes," she said simply. "Some humans want those things, just as some humans want peace and cooperation, just as some want exploration, just as some want to build and create. Humanity contains multitudes, Commander. We are not a unified species. We are individuals with different dreams and different goals." "Then how do you prevent war?" Vex asked. "How do you prevent humanity from turning its newfound power toward conquest?" Emma stopped walking and turned to face Vex directly. "The same way all civilization prevents it," she said. "Through law, through cooperation, through the understanding that we are stronger together than we are divided, through constant vigilance and constant effort. Humanity will never be perfect, Commander, but we learned something during the collective war that changed us. We learned that cooperation is more powerful than conquest. We learned that our strength comes not from individual power, but from working together." Vex processed this. His crystalline form seemed to generate more light. "Then you will submit to imperial oversight?" he asked. "No," Emma said. "Humanity will chart its own course, but we will do so as allies and friends of the interstellar community. We will follow the laws we have agreed to. We will honor the treaties we have signed, and if you ever see us moving toward tyranny, you have the right to stop us." It was a bold statement. It was a statement of confidence, but it was also a statement of truth. Over the next year, Emma watched as humanity spread across the galaxy. Some humans became traders, some became soldiers, some became scientists and explorers, some became philosophers and teachers. Humanity did not move as a unified force. They moved as individuals and groups and communities, each pursuing their own path. But they moved with a fundamental understanding that had been burned into their consciousness during the fight for survival against the collective. They understood that their strength came from being human. That meant being adaptable and resourceful and resilient. That meant being willing to fail and learn and try again. That meant being willing to fight when necessary, but also being willing to build and create and restore. 10 years after the first contact with the Imperial Dominion, Emma received a message from a young woman named Sarah. Sarah was the daughter of 2 of the original crew members from the SS Pioneer Dawn. She had been born after the collective war ended. The message contained a recording. Emma watched as Sarah, now 20 years old, spoke directly to the camera. "I am Sarah Torres. My parents served aboard the Pioneer Dawn with Captain Emma Martinez. I have never known a time when humanity was alone in the galaxy. I have never experienced the fear of isolation. For me, the interstellar community is simply reality. I am writing to tell you that I have accepted a position as a liaison between the Imperial Military Academy and the Human Federation. I will be teaching human tactical adaptation to the finest military minds in the galaxy. I am doing this not because I am following my parents' path. I am doing this because I believe humanity has something important to offer the galaxy, something about the way humans approach problems that can benefit all intelligent life. I am proud to be human. I am proud to be part of a species that fights. But I am even more proud to be part of a species that learns and grows and becomes something greater than it was before." Emma watched the message 3 times. She thought about the journey that had led to this moment, from a desperate crew of 8 in a battered ship, to a species recognized across the galaxy, to a young woman teaching the principles of human adaptability to the finest military minds in the universe. That night, Emma visited the monument of the collective war. It stood in the center of New Hope as a reminder of what humanity had survived. The monument was not a statue of a military leader or a hero. It was a simple structure made of the materials that had been used to defend Earth. Pieces of Imperial weapons, fragments of human technology, organisms from the biological defenses, all blended together, a testimony to what humans and the Empire had accomplished by working together. Emma placed her hand on the monument and felt the smooth surface beneath her palm. "We made it," she whispered. "Against all odds, we made it." Who had spent the last 10 years overseeing the development of the human space navy, came and stood beside her. "More than made it," said. We built something, something that is going to last, something that is going to matter. Arrived a moment later, he had become the official cultural ambassador of humanity. He spent his time traveling to different species and trying to bridge the gaps in understanding. The Council just approved funding for the Human Imperial Joint Research Initiative, said. We will have 17 research stations across the galaxy, all dedicated to finding new ways for humans and other species to work together. Emma smiled. This was what it had been about, not victory, not conquest, but the building of something new, something that had never existed before. A civilization built on the foundation of human resilience combined with imperial technology. A future where all species could work together toward common goals. 5 years later, Emma retired from active duty. She established a foundation dedicated to the preservation of human culture and the transmission of human values to future generations. She spent her final years writing down the story of the SS Pioneer Dawn and the first contact between humanity and the interstellar community. When Emma finally passed away at the age of 97, she was remembered across the galaxy as the human who had saved her species through sheer determination and brilliance. But that was not what she would have wanted to be remembered for. Emma wanted to be remembered as someone who had understood something fundamental about what it means to be human. That humans are not defined by their power. Humans are defined by their will to survive, their ability to adapt, their capacity to see possibility where others see only failure, their fundamental belief that no matter how dark things become, there is always another option. There is always another path forward. That is what humans are. And that is what saved humanity from extinction. On the 100th anniversary of the Collective War, the entire galaxy celebrated human achievement. Not because humans had conquered anything, not because humans had accumulated power, but because humans had done something remarkable. Humans had proven that an unknown species could rise from nothing and become something that mattered. Humans had proven that cooperation was more powerful than force. Humans had proven that adaptability and determination could overcome any threat. And humans had proven that even when facing extinction, there is always hope. There is always a choice. There is always a chance to fight. The SS Pioneer Dawn was preserved in a museum. Its patched hull and salvaged technology stood as a testament to human ingenuity. Young beings from hundreds of species would visit the museum and stand before that ancient ship and try to understand how 8 humans in such a primitive vessel had changed the entire course of galactic history. The answer was simple. They refused to give up. They refused to accept defeat. They refused to believe that their species did not matter. And through that refusal, through that determination, through that fundamental human quality that the rest of the galaxy would spend centuries trying to understand and replicate, humanity changed everything. That is the legacy of humanity. That is the story that will be told for 10,000 years and beyond. The story of the species that came from nothing and became something that saved the galaxy. The story of humanity. And it all began with a single message, transmitted in the universal language of mathematics. Will you listen? The answer was yes. And humanity's journey among the stars had truly begun. And in winning, humanity had found something greater than power. Humanity had found purpose. The story of the SS Pioneer Dawn and Captain Emma Martinez would be told for 10,000 years. It would be taught in schools across the galaxy. It would inspire young beings of 100 different species. But the most important part of the story was not the battle or the victory. The most important part was that humanity had chosen compassion over conquest, restoration over destruction, hope over despair. That choice, more than any weapon or technology, was what made humanity the most remarkable species in the galaxy. And that choice would echo through the stars forever. They had proven that humans were worth fighting for. When the first warning came that the collective had entered the outer edges of the Earth system, Emma stood on the bridge of the Pioneer Dawn and realized that her entire species' fate now rested on the untested theories and hybrid weapons she was about to deploy. All hands to battle stations, she commanded. This is not a drill, we defend our world. His voice came through the communication system with perfect clarity. All defenses activated, Captain. We are ready. But Emma knew the truth. No one was ever ready for something like this. All they could do was fight and hope that human ingenuity would be enough. She looked at the approaching biomass on her sensors and made her final decision. Deploy the first wave of countermeasures, launch all available weapons, and transmit a message to every human alive on Earth. Tell them that the time to hide is over. Tell them the time to fight has come. Tell them that we are about to show the galaxy what humanity truly is. As the weapons systems activated, and the first defensive barriers engaged with the leading edge of the collective, Emma realized that the war for Earth's survival had truly begun. Emma stood and bowed slightly. In humanity's experience, Commander, the best moments are often those that are both. As the primitive ship began its final approach, Commander Vex felt something he had not felt in 10,000 years of Imperial service. True uncertainty about what would happen next.